Hello there, and welcome to today's session of Every Mark Matters with Mr. McDonald. Today we are having a look at Edexcel History Paper 2, the American West. And our question of the day, as I'm really conscious of my ugly handwriting, is explain one consequence of the Exodus, the movement, 4 marks. This is an absolutely lovely question, namely because it's a 4-mark question, so you're going to spend 5 minutes doing that. And you're going to do 1 paragraph. These questions are made up of 3 components: the command phrase, the focus, and the second order concepts. Our command phrase for this question is explain 1. In this context, it is it's specifically asking you to explain how and why. Our focus of today's question is the Exodus, the movement. And maybe you want to press pause now to annotate the word focus with what knowledge you have about the Exodusters. So press pause and take all the time you need and think about what do you know about the Exodus, the movement. I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so let's start by saying, well, it took place in 1879. It was led by Benjamin Singleton. This was where, well, firstly, it was inspired by the book of Exodus. Of Exodus from the Bible, hence the name. 41,000 people, 41,000 black Americans moved from the Deep South to the free states of Kansas. I just want to clarify what I mean by free state. What that means is that it was slave free, as in slavery did not exist there. Now obviously by this point slavery has actually ended, but it's just still really important that the culture of slavery did not exist there. I think it's also probably really important that although they were inspired by the book of Exodus, they moved following a rumor. Okay, let's have a look at the final chunk of the question, and our final chunk is the second order concept. And in this context, our second order concept is consequence. Now, the way I teach consequences in the American West is I teach students to memorize all 5 of them, and see which one they fit. So if you want to right now, put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you want to write down, I'm going to suggest you write down all of the consequences so you know: conflict, cattle industry, crime, increased settlement, indigenous peoples, way of life. Right, so we've worked out the command phrase, we've annotated the focus with our knowledge, we've looked at the second order concept. We'll tell you what then, why don't we just work out which of these consequences match up. Right, so the Exodus, the movement. Does conflict match up? No, so let's put a little X there. Does cattle industry match up? No, absolutely not. Does crime match up? Not necessarily. Does increased settlement match up? Yeah, it does actually. Indigenous people's way of life? Nah, not really. So this clearly increased settlement fits in perfectly with this question. So before we start, let's just super quickly put together a real quick success criteria. So, and again with these 4 markers, they're really nice and easy to self-assess, as it is in essence a tick box exercise. So what do we need to do is we need to start by matching / stating the correct consequence. We need to make sure that there are 2 facts per paragraph. We need to make sure that there is how. You might use the phrase "this led to," and you might use the phrase "why." And this is really important. The why is the most important one. The main thing that separates full marks from a 3 out of 4 is where they haven't explained why the consequence fits. So what I tend to do with this one is I tend to state the consequence, then explain why, then do my 2 facts and my how. Okay? So it's a 5-minute question. So what I'm going to suggest to you right now is that you press pause, set a 5-minute timer, and have a go at answering the question, explain one consequence of the Exodus to movement of 1879. And I'll see you shortly. Hello there. Okay, welcome back to our consequence question. I hope you've enjoyed that 5 minutes there, and I'm hoping you're explaining one consequence of the Exodus to movement of 1879. You might have noticed that I've already marked this one as I had a filming crisis, but let's have a quick look at this one more time. So one consequence of the 1879 Exodus to movement was increased settlement. As you can see here, so I've given myself 1 mark with AO1. This was because Benjamin Singleton led over 40,000 former slaves to the Free State to claim land and begin again. So there, ladies and gents, that is my why. For example, so all I've done is I've stated the consequences and I've explained why. For example, Benjamin Singleton inspired former slaves in the Deep South to escape racism and discrimination and claim 160 acres of land in the Free State of Kansas. I know that the movement were falsely informed by a rumour of free land, leading to charities stepping up and to support the Exodusters. So here, as you can see, I've already annotated. There's my first fact, there's my second fact. So I've stated the consequences, I've done my why, I have stated my first fact and my second fact. Let's just make sure I go for a 4 out of 4. This led to huge numbers of black Americans moving to the state following the rumour and resentment from the existing whites in Kansas. And if I just go back to my success criteria, as you can see here, well, have I stated and matched the correct consequence? Yes, I have. Have I brought in 2 facts per paragraph? Yes, I absolutely have. Have I explained how? Well, I've used this led to, and I've said that it led to huge numbers of people creating resentment and so on. Have I said why? Absolutely. So there is 4 out of 4 for my answer. Do you want to now return back to our success criteria, comparing your answer and my answer to this success criteria? And then we will call it a day there. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you next time.